So I really don't know how to start this video. Um, but I know what I need to say, or what I want to say at least. And I'm only recording this for my healing journey, but hopefully to share a message to those who may have gone through something similar or can relate, or just to be more compassionate towards people. So I think I talk very light about what I've been through, especially as a child. Like growing up, like nobody really knows a lot of the turmoil I went through as a kid. And so I'm going to just be like real and raw with this video. So if you're triggered, I'm so sorry. But this is just my story. This is some of the things that I experienced as a little kid. You know, I mean, my whole childhood. Like, I can't even, like, put an age number on it or whatnot because it was my entire childhood, even before I was born, type stuff. So, I was adopted, not, like, officially, like, through an adoption agency or anything like that, but adopted into the family, right? So, my biological mother, I don't talk about her too much. I don't talk about a lot of my family too much. I try not to. But so my biological mother, she was actually raped, and that's how I came into this world. And at least this is the story that I was told. So she was raped by a black man, and my entire family is pretty much white. At least that was my understanding, right? And so I come into this world at 2 months old. She doesn't want me due to, with what happened and everything. I was actually told that I was supposed to be aborted, right? I was never supposed to be born. Like, these are the things I was told as a kid, okay? And so I was given to my aunt at the time, who I actually call mom now. And so at 2 months old, she took me in and raised me. Now, I don't blame anybody, and I'm not trying to make anybody look evil or bad or anything like that, right? I'm just sharing my experience and my perception of the experience and how I'm healing from it, right? And so my family loved them wholeheartedly. And, I talk about this story and what I went through. It's because, like, sometimes we don't realize that we've been abused and we can become the abuser, or we can, become this energy that's not the best or greatest, or we may, because I was born in 91. So if you look at that time area, a lot of people weren't educated. A lot of people weren't understanding or aware of abuse, or just certain things that we're aware of now today, right? And so I don't blame them, but I've learned that we all have a choice, right? We all has a choice to change. Like me now, looking back at this scenario, it sounds terrible, and I would never do this to my child, or even like want to even like think about that. But sometimes we may be so caught up in our own trauma or in our own life that we may not realize we are doing this, right? So, going back to my story, I grew up, I was the only, black kid in the family. And it was my grandma who was more of the racist, or I don't even like to use that word, but she was more against the fact that I was black, right? And so she would say certain things, and this, like, I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I remember like, especially before I was like 5, or at least 7, I don't remember a lot of it. It's very like, it's like my brain blocked a lot of it. And so there's certain points in my life that I do remember, but a lot of it's due to like looking at pictures and stuff like that. So I'm still like trying to remember certain things from my childhood. and also heal from it. That's like the root cause of a lot of certain things that I do now. That's why I'm so hard on myself. That's why it's really hard for me to let people in and just like trust people as well too, because people that have said I love you, people who are supposed to care for you, nurture you, lift you up, right? These people in my life didn't always do that. And so it's really hard for me to believe that people actually love me. And it's really hard for me to love myself sometimes. And so I think it was 7 when I really got into music, because my family's very musical, right? And so I started getting into the, singing and songwriting, and that's where I really gravitated towards. That was like one of my gifts, but also during this time, I was very spiritually connected to certain things that I didn't understand at the time. So I remember as a young kid, I was terrified of the dark. And I still kind of am today. You ask like probably one of my friends that have slept over or whatnot, I've always probably had a nightlight or some kind of light right on. But growing up, I would see things, I would hear things, and I was actually sent away to these different schools and psychic hospitals and told certain things that I was just crazy, or I was making it up. All these things that you really shouldn't tell a kid. And it was actually also 12 when I started writing, but 12 was the age where I started having seizures as well too. And so all these things were happening. Like, yeah, I was doing music, I was getting into, singing, but there was also these challenges that were going on in my life. I kept having these accidents. I kept getting my head, like I had a lot of head trauma. I had a lot of different brain injuries, seizures, and I was getting sick all the time. So I had this like stomach illness to where I had to be on like 12 different medications every single day. Like I could not move. And on top of that, we were homeless a lot. We were homeless. We were moving all over the place, And so I was going from church school to home school to public school. And I can't even count, anymore on how many times or how many schools I went to. I just know I went to a lot. And so going through all these things as a kid, it kind of just like, it messes you up. And so if you can relate to this video, this story of mine, please comment or share, something, so I can, connect with you in some way, because, we're not alone. There's people in this world that are going through a lot of shit or been through a lot of stuff. Sorry, I shouldn't cuss. But just has been through so much stuff that we don't even realize, right? We only see certain percentages of people's lives. We see people at work, or we see people at school, or we see people, occasionally. We may not see our friends every single day, see what they go through, or, they may not tell us everything, Like I talk about in my other videos, there's different versions of us. We're always meeting new people and, all these things. But growing up as a kid, like I didn't understand a lot of the things that I was going through. And it was 12 years old where I actually was my first suicide attempt. And it's really sad to think about, right? Because it's like nowadays, the suicide rate is so high, and people that commit suicide, a lot of people say, well, I could have never imagined, like, I didn't even realize, I didn't see the signs, I didn't see that she was depressed. Sometimes people can mask their emotions so well, and I'm really good at that. And so that's another reason why I'm recording this video, is because, like, yeah, like, a lot of the times I'm this happy-go-lucky person, always trying to be positive, always, sharing a positive, uplifting message for others, because I know what it's like to feel lost and feel hopeless and just feel like there's no hope, right? And I don't want anybody else to feel this way. So growing up as a kid, I was sent to these schools. So I don't know if you guys know about Paris Hilton's story about how she was sent away to this school without warning. It was treated like horrible. It was abuse and whatnot. And so I was sent away to like multiple different versions of these schools. Back then they called them group homes. There was like this one, it wasn't even a home, it was like a military confinement school. Mind you, I'm 12, 13, 14, so this is way before I was 18 years old, 17. And so I was going to these different schools, and it was because my mom at the time, so like I had a lot of anger issues. So there was times where I would act out or I just get mad, but it was due to a lot of it, I wasn't being heard, I wasn't being, listened to. So like my mom would tell me to do something and I would go do it or go, try and figure it out, but I wasn't able to figure it out. And so I'd come back, tell her, because I believed I was a good kid. Like, I just had that anger bottled up because nobody believed me, right? Nobody believed me as a kid. Nobody listened to me. It was really hard for me to just connect with people. And so for me, I was just like, that's one reason why I was like really shy and I didn't really talk to people, because I didn't really know, I didn't have that voice, I was being told by my family, the people that are supposed to love me, that I wasn't good enough, that I was, all these different things. And so I didn't have confidence. I had all these insecurities with my weight, with, everything I was going through. And some of these things were when I was sent away to these schools or these group homes, I didn't even do anything, And looking back now, it's like some of these other kids that maybe have went to these schools or group homes or whatnot, they might have not even really done anything, right? As a kid, as a teenager, you kind of like rebel and, think you're, old enough to do whatever, right? But I wasn't even really doing that. I remember there was points in my life where I was just like running away from home, but I was still going to school. Like I would go stay at my friend's house, but I'd still go to school. I'd still show up for school. I'd still, and there was one time, like, there was these things that I was doing. Man, it just blows my mind because, like, I never really reflected on a lot of this, Like, I knew, like, it was like, it's there in my brain, right? But there's certain things that trigger it to remind me that, oh yeah, I went through that shit. and I shouldn't laugh, but that's just another way of like expressing myself. It's not like I'm joking about the situation, because it's a really sad, traumatic experience that I went through, multiple different experiences The fact that it wasn't my biological mom, my family, my dad, who wasn't even my dad. I went through a lot of stuff with that too. Just being told that he wasn't biologically my father, and so I couldn't see him because my mom and dad were going through this divorce due to certain things that I'm still trying to understand as well too. And so pretty much I was like the black sheep of the family, at least. I don't know, that's what the simple form of it was. And so I was just always trying to just figure myself out. I've always been trying to figure myself out, and always blame myself because I always thought I was doing something wrong. I got in trouble for nothing. So I was like, okay, so there's a lot of healing to that, right? And this is probably one of the reasons why my back continues to hurt, even though I'm been through so many different accidents too. I was bucked off a horse, right? Hit in the head. And just so many things. If this video I could write a book, and I probably should, but I literally could write a book. Because writing songs isn't enough. Most people don't get the real raw version through my music. And I don't really like to bring it up because I, one, get emotional about it and I'm still healing from it. But two, it's I don't know if I really want to tell certain people about what I went through because I've done that before. I've told certain people what I went through and they used it against me, right? So I've been through a lot of turmoil, and that's just some of the real and raw shit that I went through. I was thankfully able to leave home at 19 and go into this program called Job Corps, which transformed my life, and I'm so, so grateful for that program. That program and I just want to thank all my mentors and all the people there, because that program planted a foundation for myself. It was heaven on earth at that time, right? Nowadays, I don't know what it's like. But I just know that was my saving grace. Because before then, I was in hell. I was in hell. I remember. So this is why I did the song Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson. I would always listen to that song because I knew I needed to break away from this cycle, It's I love my family so much, but I knew how to get away and figure out a life for myself to understand this better. And so it's not even just about the last year of how I've transformed my life in the last year, but I've been transforming my life since I was a kid. And it's it's a lot. So I'm very grateful, and I'm just I'm at this point in my life where this is why I can see people's bullshit so strongly, because I've lived through it since I was a kid. I can understand and feel. You don't have to say anything, right? You don't have to even say that you don't like me. I will know if you just don't like me. Because my whole family, love them to death. I have no, I don't want to put any evil towards them or hate on them, because they also went through their own abuse, right? They also had their own things. My mom growing up, my dad beat her, threatened to kill her, certain things like that. So she was going through her own domestic violence while raising me, a kid that's not even hers, but also my brother who's autistic. So certain things like that. So it's I had to kind of take the take the weight off myself and look at, okay, what was she going through at the time? I mean, raising 2 kids is a lot, but raising a kid that's not yours, a kid that's autistic, and every, you know, person that has autism is different, right? And then having an abusive father figure, right? Now, I love my dad. I love him so, so much. Always will. And I speak highly of him because, like, he even struggled. He had addiction issues, you know, certain things like that. But he was also abused as a kid. You know, he also went through his abuse. And I believe we can always change the cycle, but sometimes we're so stuck in our trauma and wrapped up in it, you know, that we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that was what was happening with my dad. He didn't even want kids. And it happened, you know, life happens, right? He didn't want kids, ended up with 2. And just certain things started happening. Now, I don't know the whole story. Like I said, I was a kid, but I know from my perception and how I viewed it, I still love him, you know? I still love my mom. I still love my family. I still love every single one of them. And I pray and I hope they can heal themselves, you know? Choose to heal themselves. Because we can't make anybody do anything, right? And so it was after I left for Job Corps, when it was probably like a year later or so, or that same year. Yeah, it was that same year I left for Job Corps where he was murdered. And that, like, triggered a lot too, because I was told I was never able to, you know, see him again. And my plan for going to Job Corps was to go into the military and become this nutritionist in the military and go help him and live with him, because he, like, I never seen him really growing up because of the divorce. And so, like, I always looked highly up to him, but he was never in the picture, right? I always wanted to go stay with him and be around him because he was the cool parent. So, you know, that was my mind as a kid. And so it was really, really hard when that happened. And I didn't really talk about it. You know, there's people that wanted to talk to me, wanted to help me, but I never really opened up about it. And that's kind of when the spiral started happening, you know? But that's just some of the real and raw stuff I wanted to share. And just get it off my chest, because I don't really talk about it to a lot of people, or I haven't. And for me, it's really hard sometimes to just really open up and take that time and even allow those people to come into my life to listen to me. So I hope you hear this message, and I hope you take this message as a message of inspiration, that no matter what you go through, you know, even if you go through hell, and if you're going through hell right now, it will get better. It's gonna be okay. And I know that's like something that I don't really like saying, because like most, like even me and myself, like I have to fight to just say that sometimes. And that's where my faith comes in. That's where me trusting the universe, trusting God, just having that faith that, like, He's going to take care of me. He's going to protect me. The universe is going to take care of me. The universe is going to protect me. My angels, my guardians, you know, they're surrounding me. You know, I didn't make it this far to get this far. It just shows my resilience. And it can show your resilience too. That anything is possible. Just keep fighting. Just keep telling yourself, hey, I may not understand this right now, but one day I'm gonna fucking cry my eyes out and realize, like, why I got this far. So, That's my inspirational message for tonight. Love y'all. Thank you for watching.